Ella no me da problema. Ella
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our topic is types of conservation. So, the content in our topic are environmental conservation, animals conservation, and lastly, marine conservation. Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Faya Amia Taliza, PT Basri. I would like to present about environmental conservation. Human existence is quite impossible without the presence of a healthy ecosystem. Our environment comprises all living and non-living components and their interaction within a natural habitat. Environmental conservation has become one of the core issues that need to be addressed to battle climate change and global warming. Sustainable development is the need of the hour that can save the Mother Earth from the repercussions of industrialization. Environmental conservation is a practice that paves the way for protecting the environment and the natural resources on the individual, organizational, as well as governmental levels. There are various core environmental issues that are taking a heavy toll on human lives, ranging from overpopulation, hydrological issues, ozone depletion, global warming, to deforestation, desertification, and pollution. All of these issues pose a severe threat to the existence of humankind, unless environmental conservation is becoming an effective mass movement. It is futile to expect positive growth, especially in the age of digital media, which holds the potential to bring a revolution to save our planet from destruction. Importance of environmental conservation. It has become important to work towards environmental conservation in contemporary times. The following pointers elucidate the crucial need to save the environment from further degradation. Number 1 is to reduce air, water, and land pollution. Number 2, to facilitate the conservation of natural resources for our future generation. Number 3, to ensure the protection of biodiversity. Number 4, to implement sustainable development. Number 5, to restore the ecological balance. And lastly, to save our planet from harmful repercussions of global warming. Alright, I would like to share about what are the methods of environmental conservation. So let's start. Now that you are familiar with the meaning and the importance of environmental conservation, let's understand the core methods through which it can be effectively facilitated.
Number 1, forest conservation. Number 2, soil conservation. Number 3, waste management. And lastly, pollution control.
The conclusion is our natural environment makes human life possible, and our cultural environment helps define who we are. It is therefore essential that our population and economic growth are environmentally sustainable. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Nurin Suraibatisha binti Shahlizan from class AS2553A, and you guys can call me Suraya. And now I will continue about animal conservation. And before we go further about this topic, I just want to ask you guys, did you know what is endangered species and how many of them in our world now? So, if you guys don't know, endangered species is defined as a population of a living species that is considered at the risk of extinction because of the several reasons. And there are more than 40,000 species that are threatened with extinction. Next, according to the Red List of International Union for Conservation of Nature, or known as IUCN, there are 9 levels of conservation. And the IUCN has classified all the species into 9 categories in the ascending order of threat, which are not evaluated, data deficient, least concern, near threatened, vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, extinct in the wild, and extinct. And what does IUCN mean by threatened? Critically endangered, and vulnerable species are considered to be threatened with global extinction. Now, let's talk about animal conservation, or also known as wildlife conservation. The animal conservation is defined as the practice of protecting animal species and their habitats, which includes protecting both the animals and the habitats. What is the importance of animal conservation to us? First, the animals are beneficial to humans, especially the wild one, because these animals produce chemicals that can be used as a source of medicine for humanity. The drugs are used to cure various health conditions, including heart disorders, diseases, and several other illnesses. Other than that, saving the wildlife helps the environment, because saving wildlife translates to protecting the environment. The more wild animals exist, the more we enrich our planet. For this reason, animals need to be kept in their natural habitats and environments. We need to preserve their natural habitats because they will prove to be beneficial to humans. And last but not least, the wildlife is beneficial for agriculture and farming, because the human population depends on plants, not just for food but for the gases that they produce. Plants depend on some animals for pollination. Plants need bees, insects, animals, and birds for pollination. If animals are not preserved, there may be no more effective pollination. This would result in future translate to a reduced source of food and medicine for humanity. So, how does the animals being protected and conserved? There are some wildlife organizations like Conservation International and Wildlife Conservation Society that protect animals. These organizations work with governments to establish laws that protect animal populations. One of the laws they helped pass is the Endangered Species Act, ESA, of 1973 in the United States. This act helps protect and recover imperiled species and the ecosystems they depend on. The species that are protected under ESA are species with the conservation status levels of endangered and threatened. And we, as the people that are responsible for the future generation, how can we help in protecting these animals? There are some ways that we can do to help in protecting these animals. First, we can do a volunteering. There are many of volunteer program. We can do clean the beach and woodland to help the environment clean. The second one is to use eco-friendly products. We can use eco-friendly products to avoid pollution that can harm the animals. The third one is to grow plants and save trees, because most of the plants provide shelter and food to the wildlife. And the last one is to visit wildlife conservation, for example as zoos, national parks, and wildlife sanctuary, because the money that we get from the visit can be used as a funds to protect the animals. So I think that's all from me for the topic of animal conservation. And next, we will move to the topic of marine conservation that will be presented by Sarah. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah Nabila binti Muhammad Bakhori. I will talk about marine conservation. What is marine conservation about actually? Marine conservation is described as the preservation and protection of ocean ecosystems with an emphasis on reducing human harm and maintaining endangered marine species. Species extinction, habitat degradation, and changes in ecosystem function are the key problems facing our seas. Increased extinction rates due to human activities have resulted in an significant loss of biodiversity, especially in coral reef, which are endangered by excessive CO2 emissions in 88% of cases. Ocean acidification is the result of rising CO2 levels in the seas, changing the chemistry of salt water by lowering the pH. These reefs are among the world's most significant biodiversity stores. A reef takes roughly 10,000 years to originate from coral polyps and up to 13 million years to completely mature, and they contain an estimated 25% of all marine species. Coral reef ecosystems are becoming increasingly degraded and in need of protection as a result of human impact. So why is marine conservation so important? If we put too much pressure on our marines, we will suffer just as many bad effects as the marines. Increasing human populations, for example, have resulted in greater human effect on ecosystems. These impacts include increased pressure from fisheries such as reef degradation and overfishing, as well as pressure from the tourist sector, which has grown in recent years. To put it another way, various species rely on one another to survive. If one species is endangered, it's likely that another is as well. This can set off a chain reaction, putting a whole ecosystem at risk. Healthy ecosystems are just as important as healthy marine life because without them, we will have less food, fewer money, and less life on our planet. The bottom line is that healthy seas are essential for life on Earth, and it is our job to safeguard them. How can we protect marine life? Effective conservation techniques such as the establishment of marine protected areas may be implemented for a number of reasons with the goal of limiting the impact of human activities. We can also use artificial ways to promote sustainable fisheries and restore endangered species populations. Artificial reefs have been shown to be effective in providing home for endangered wildlife, allowing the damaged ecosystems to recover and important biodiversity to regenerate within reef ecosystems. When attempting to have a lower influence on marine life, there are a few factors to be considered. As an example, to begin, make more efficient use of your water supply. This will not only save your money, but it will also prevent excess runoff into the ocean, which contains toxins and debris. Second, in your daily life, spend less energy. Higher temperatures can lead to coral mortality, increasing sea levels, floods, and more intense weather, all of which can harm marine ecosystems. Finally, it is critical to reduce your usage of plastics. This is where toxic compounds accumulate in the food chain, causing major issues for the top organisms. Only around 3% of the ocean is successfully protected. To maintain marine biodiversity and create ocean resilience, we need to protect at least 13% of the ocean.